Stay tuned for a special presentation of first-person shooter games on Super Nintendo. So here we are playing Baseball 2000 on the Super Nintendo. And kind of looks like a computer. Look at it. It has a floppy disk drive on the bottom left hand. That's actually a little demonstration. Here's the title screen right here. It looks like a bunch of balls. Baseball 2000. Look at that. And we are playing a whole bunch of first-person shooters on the Super Nintendo today, so let's check this one out. It's the first one on the list. Alright, so let's choose whatever the hell this is right here. This is a very obscure first-person shooter on the Super Nintendo. Probably not the most well-known. And here it is right here, and it looks like we have some type of a ball looking thing right here. It kind of resembles something that you would probably play on DOS. I guess the whole object of the game is to kill smiley yellow faces that kind of look like that Walmart logo from back in the day. Alright, so in this game basically that's what you do, you just shoot yellow faces. It's pretty interesting. Not really, but I guess it's something very, very different on the Super Nintendo. There wasn't really many first-person shooters available for Super Nintendo, so I would imagine that when this came out, it was a very obscure, strange game that people might find a little bit of interest in because they're like, oh shit, look at this. This is a very different game. As far as I understand, there was only maybe about 4 first-person shooter games on Super Nintendo. That was it. Pretty interesting to see this being played on Super Nintendo because, again, there wasn't so many of these games, but that's mainly about it. There's nothing really much interesting about this game at all. Stay tuned for a special presentation of first-person shooter games on Super Nintendo. And then we have Spectra for the Super Nintendo. Check this out. Looks like we might be having a little bit of a title screen popping up here in a second. Fancy looking, look at that. Looks like some type of a planet. Maybe that's the developer, the publisher, one or the other. Let's check this out. Alright, we have something purplish coming up on the screen right here. It's kind of purple looking, look at that. We have a triangle, and we have the Spectra logo. It's about damn time, that took forever. Spectra came out in, it looks like 1994, and it has a whole bunch of crap on the screen right there you can read. And again, it's 1 player or 2 player. Wow, look at that. I don't know, I've never played this before. We're just gonna have to jump into the game and figure out what the hell we're supposed to be doing. Level 1, alright. What the hell is this? Wow, the frame rate's actually really nice on this game. This almost looks like that Battle Tanks game on the NES or the Game Boy. I think it was on both. Hey, look at this. This actually looks pretty good. You have a little radar on the top right. And it looks like the yellow is actually the flags, so you have to actually collect the flags right here. There's another flag up here you have to get.
Level complete.
Well, what do you know? This game is actually not bad. I mean, from your point of view, it might look boring because you're not playing it, but I guarantee you that if you actually jump in and play it, actually makes sense, and it has logic to it. Mainly, you just use that little radar on the top right there, and it's pretty much the red dots are the enemies, the yellow dots are the flags, and it's actually a pretty not bad game at all. It's actually pretty decent, and I'm actually surprised it actually runs this well on the Super Nintendo. Look at it. The frame rate runs really well. It's not bad at all. Game over. What the hell is that? Are you kidding me? Stay tuned for a special presentation of first-person shooter games on Super Nintendo. And then we have the oh-so-famous Doom for the Super Nintendo. I've actually owned this game a couple of times. So probably owned the Super Nintendo 2 or 3 times. And this is one of the games I've always came across. And right away, I'm already in the game. I'm already past the title screen. I didn't even push a button at all. That just threw me right into the game. How do you like that? As you may already know, this is probably not the best version of Doom. It's the subpar Super Nintendo version, but you have to pretty much take it for what it's worth, because considering that it's running on the Super Nintendo and it's running this well, it's actually pretty good. So let's say if you did not have a DOS PC back in the day and you only had the Super Nintendo, well, guess what? The only way for you to play Doom is, unfortunately, Super Nintendo, so it's going to have to deal with it. It is definitely not as good as the DOS version, but it's not that bad. It's actually playable. The frame rate does suck, but it's pretty much whatever. You can still shoot enemies and kill them, just like that, and there's still blood in the game. You know, back then, Nintendo loved to censor stuff, but this game wasn't really that censored as far as I know. You still have a lot of blood in the game. Except this ugly bastard here again. And then, yeah, the graphics are actually a bit more pixelated than the DOS version. Quite a bit more. But it plays, and it actually looks, for Super Nintendo standards, it looks pretty good. And if you have a Super Nintendo, or let's say if it was years ago and you did not have a DOS PC, and you had no way of actually playing Doom except for Super Nintendo, then I'm pretty sure you will definitely enjoy playing this. It's actually not bad. You're just going to have to suffer with the frame rate issue, but you can see the frame rate's not that great, but the game is playable. Stay tuned for a special presentation of first-person shooter games on Super Nintendo. And here we have our final first-person shooter on the Super Nintendo. Now, if there was any more, just let me know. As far as I know, this is pretty much all I know of on the Super Nintendo first-person shooters. We have the title screen right here, Wolfenstein 3D. Pretty badass title screen. Then we have a demonstration of the gameplay the computer is playing. Now, this game was pretty good. It has a much better frame rate than Doom. It's actually very, very much playable. The only thing that kind of ruined the game was that they censored it. Yeah, Nintendo loved to censor stuff, so all those Adolf Hitler pictures on the wall, unfortunately it's not Adolf Hitler, and all those swastikas, it's definitely not World War II anymore, it's fictional. Everything's like all weird, censored, pretty much crappy looking. But nonetheless, it's pretty much the same game. I mean, there might be a few levels missing, I'm not sure. And we have a little bit of a mission briefing right here, which the PC version did not have that. I believe the Atari Jaguar version had that. In fact, the Atari Jaguar version, in my opinion, was the best version of this game. I thought that was actually pretty good. Alright, so pretty much looks pretty much the same as the PC version, but it's much more pixelated. The screening is not full screen once again, unfortunately. And then also, there's another interesting thing about this game is that the sprites, some of the sprites are missing, I guess, because the enemies, I don't think they have sprites of them looking away from you. I believe they always face you at all times. So no matter where you're walking, the enemy is actually looking towards you. And I believe that's the same for the Jaguar version also, but the thing about the Jaguar version is they actually have much more enhanced sprites that's even superior to what the PC version has. That game actually looks really nice. This was another game that I actually owned on the Super Nintendo. It was actually pretty good. Except for the censorship kind of pissed me off. There's no sense in censoring the game. I heard that over in Germany, any World War II game that features any Nazi symbols or mentioning, they have to censor it over there, which is kind of weird. But this is pretty much what they would deal with on every single game that they have that has anything to do with Nazis at all. Even the modern Wolfenstein game, The New Order, is fully censored over there in Germany and just got killed. This game right here is subpar compared to the PC version, but again, it's not Super Nintendo. And for Super Nintendo standards, it's not bad. If you owned the Super Nintendo and you did not have a PC, once again, this is pretty much your way of getting a taste out of what you could play on the PC.